Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to touch it. They haven't got it. He's on the outside line, though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now, though, for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at in the world. It is always a good time for sim racing, and I want to welcome you along here to the VWSC Historic Series here at Historic Monza. It's round 11 of what's been a exciting, chaotic season, and it's gonna be a good one here today to go through. My name is Bradley Dalton, and I'm gonna be joined in the booth by Alex Goldschmidt, a wonderful friend of mine, a legend in commentary, and someone I haven't commentated with in a little bit, so I'm excited to bring him in a bit here. And of course, as always, I can't forget to thank and love the wonderful Paul Glover that is in the background and will be giving me the thoughts in the back of my head that I've been told are just him and not the voices. So We'll bring that one up a little bit later, though. That's something that I pay professionals for. Let's look at where we've gone this season, where we're going this season. Because, of course, while the Modern Series has been going through and it's about to end, we're far from the end here in the Historics with Storm Gang Simulations 1964 Virtual World Sports Car Championship. We started with Daytona in February, and then we went through Sebring, Targa Florio. We've been all over the world. And, of course, it brings us here to Monza, a track that everyone knows and loves. Of course, we have Bridgehampton coming up. We have the Provence Alps Hill Climb coming up, and we will end it all in the City of Love, Paris, France, on the 7th of December. So that will be one to look out for. A few more races left. Like I said, plenty of time to go through, but it all stands today in Monza. And this is not the Monza you know and love that you've seen Daniel Ricciardo win at, that you've seen amazing racing happen at in the real Modern Series. This is Historics. We got to do it big. This is the full layout with the fun speedway section, as I call it. No chicanes for any sort of cars to end up on top of cars. This is going to be 6.21 miles, 10 kilometers exactly of absolute speed and action. And we'll talk with Mr. Ross Smith here later about how the cars handle that speed, because we've seen how these cars handle through the season, and I'm curious to know how they go through. But that is going to be a fun one to look at. The Division 3 cars. These are always the fun ones to look at. The Slipstream, the Saving the Fuel. They got to be careful around Div 1-2, and, well, they need to be. That doesn't mean they will be. And stability is going to be a big issue. We're looking at about 20 to 27 minutes of running and 2 to 4 stops. And the car to beat, of course, it's that Corvette Stingray. That Corvette Stingray has been powerful through the season in the Div 1-2s. And I know on the card it looks like it says D12. It is Div 1-2s here. We're looking at the 904 and the Alfa Romeo Giulia, and it's 15 to 20 minutes a run, 4 to 5 stops. How stable can they set up, and how careful can they be when they see a Division 3 car coming along? That will be the big questions for them today. Let's look at the scores on the doors, where they stand, how our championship goes with 4 rounds left going through. This is going to be the big one to look at. Let's start out with our Div 1-2s and bring them up. We'll look at the Div 1-2s, and for that, it is Aliko Busink at 58.9 points. Dan Herlock at 55.55. And then Cameron Barker further back at 34.6. Ben Borman in fourth at 30.75. Reese Gardner at 26.7. Becky Ely at 25.65. David Junt at 20.45. Dan Kirby at 15.2. Oliver Day at 14.7. Robin Moling rounds out your top 10 here of our 23 drivers in the Div 1-2 standings at 14.4. Your top three teams as they stand: Mike Bell Motorsports, Joy Motorsports, and Futigo Monsters Lotuses, which is, of course, Ben Borman and Becky Ely there. And if I didn't say your favorite driver's name, make sure you look up and down this Div 1-2 standing, see where they're at, find your favorite team, and support them accordingly. Now, in the Div 1-2 AM standing, it's Eric Monet, who is running things at 65.8 points with Adam Gray at 64.7. So those two are in a close battle there. Michael Locke in third at 36.6. James Bowders at 21.3. David Bacca-Celadon at 20.4. Tom Mountjoy at 16.4. Santiago Dancourt at 11.7. Fernando Ferreira at 9.1. Luke Goodlife at 8.8. Filippo Marazzi at 8.6. And then Pavel in 5.2. Mateus Bogle at 4.8. Stephen Miller at 2.1. And Philippe Decardi at just 0.65 points. That's your 14 drivers in the Div 1-2 AM. Now, in the Div 3 Pros, it is a very interesting battle to look at here. Bradley Sellers at 62.3, Nicholas Kirsten at 53.55, Magnus Dahlgren at 46.2, JT Tammy 45.85, Wouter de Bruin 33.8, Timon Suvic 23.7, Ethan Funk, Ross Smith is in 8th place here in the Div 3 standings, Tom Lane, and Mike Bell. And then from there, it's Emmy Racing Ferrari 250s, Smile Power Racing Shelby Daytonas, and the Rookie Monsters, the three teams in the Div 3 class as they stand. Div 3 AM, you got 7 drivers participating here in the Div 3 AM standings, and it's Jerry Chin leading Georgie Angelides, 86.5 to 72.2. John Mayer in third, down with only 29 points. So George and Jerry somewhat close here with 4 rounds to go, but it looks like those two will be your title contenders. John Mayer there third, Barry DeMarzo in fourth, Jason Whited in fifth, Dave Kors in sixth, and Harslav Zakic in seventh, with Scuderia Cavella Ferrari in first and Flying Kiwi Racing in second in your Div 3 standings. That's a lot of information to go over, but I do have someone that can make some more information for you to remember throughout our race here in Monza. Let's bring in one Mr. Ross Smith. Ross, good evening. How are you, my friend?
Doing great, Bradley. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited here. It looks like it has rained earlier here in Monza. We don't expect rain for the rest of the day, or at least that's what the weather says. I'm kind of hoping the weather's wrong. Can you give me an update on the weather?
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. I think it's dumped everything it's going to. It's still about 50 to 40%, but it's dropping off pretty fast. And with the way we've seen it kind of in the area, it's unlikely. I think one of the other drivers, I don't know if he's in today, was saying that it's clearing up. So yeah, probably going to be dry through to the end. So we unfortunately won't have that little X factor to throw into the mix, but it's okay because it's still going to be an exciting race either way.
It is going to be exciting as it always is. And Ross, I saw some discussion earlier in the week talking about how different cars handle this track. Can you kind of give us a fill-in on what cars are doing really well, what cars are struggling? I noticed that stability seems to be a common discussion here around Monza.
Yes, especially for the smaller cars in Div 1 and 2, just because they are lighter and this track really throws them around. You'll see them do pretty well through the main sections of the track, turn 1 through the Lesmos corners, Parabolica for sure. But that oval is definitely the biggest point of contention. It is just it's so different the way that you have to set your car up to be able to handle it very appropriately. And that's what makes this track so great, is because it's just like it's totally antithetical to itself. You've got, a bit of NASCAR and a bit of classic European motorsports. So you smash the two together and you just get unpredictable results. And for today, I know George is going through the briefing right now, and he's telling them, okay, whatever you do, you got to stick to your line as best as you can, because those Div 3s are going to be coming through that oval section fast. And when they see a car that's kind of floating around the oval section, they got to know where to go. Fortunately, Div 3s can tuck down on the inside where necessary, so for the I want to say it's maybe the Lotus and the Alpha. I think those are the ones that are finding that the bottom is more comfortable. So we'll kind of have to look out for those. Although I saw Ben and Becky, they were working the Lotuses up kind of on the mid and high side, and that's where the Porsches have been kind of comfortable. Um, and I've even seen the Alpha float up there here and there. Alpine definitely loves to go up high and stick up there. So I think Scar is the only one, unfortunately, sporting the Alpine, representing the French in today's race. But yeah, they'll be good. As for the Div 3s, they're all fairly similar in terms of stability. I would say the Ferrari probably struggles the most. It's definitely meant to be a more spry car. So going along these just all out flat sections, it struggles a little bit compared to its American counterparts in the Corvette C2 and the Shelby Daytona, which uh, today's race is going to be dominated likely by that Stingray just because of fuel economy, well, mostly because of fuel capacity than anything else. There's just they could go so much longer in those tanks. They don't have to sit in the pits near as long to fill up. So they have a strong advantage. The Shelby's basically the only chance that they have to be able to come out on top is to get in a slipstream and pull away. And we'll see how successful they can be with that. And if Kirsten, probably he's going to have the best chance of being up there, at least in the pros, with the 250 GTO. You might be able to stick with the back of the group and make a move at the end. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch the Div 3s sort that one out because JT Tammy's the only person I see that's in the Corvette Stingray that you say has that very obvious advantage. I want to look and Ross, any big changes to the cars that anyone should know about, or any big changes planned before the end of the season?
No, nothing as of yet. We've been pretty happy with the success of the formula. I mean, because of the cars being so different, you're going to see some do better on some tracks than others. It's just inherent in the car, the way it is. Doesn't mean that it's a guaranteed win for sure, but it does mean that the competition is really going to have to put a lot of effort in coming up with good strategy to be able to be there fighting at the end. And we've been very successful with this formula. We've had a lot of really good driver feedback. We've got a ton of good data to feed into all of that. So our testers have been on full time, making all those incremental adjustments and putting them out. And I think at this point, we're kind of just going to see this through to the end. Probably not a whole lot going to be changing.
Yeah, and of course the development for next season's car is ongoing and pushing very hard. James doesn't know what the car is. I don't think Alex knows. Me and Paul both know though. How is development going? I know that you were talking about getting the car out to the testers. Have they been testing, and how's that been going for them?
Oh yeah. In fact, so for the historics, they've been doing a great job. It's a very tricky balance that they have to achieve. Fortunately, it's only one category that they have to focus on, so that makes things a little bit easier. Only 5 cars, but even still, it means that there's still a lot of dialing in to be done, and they're doing a great job. Cars are very unique and characteristic to one another, even though I would say they're probably closer in parity than maybe some of these, the 64s that we have here, but still very unique. Lots of good characteristic between each one of them, and yeah, they're working great there. And for the 25s, the modern cars, they've got the test mules going. George is doing all he can to make sure that all the new GT3s are in there. We've got the 9X8 in, which has been getting looked at. It's mostly a center of pressure adjustment on that one, not too big a change on that, other than like the wing addition. And then the Valkyrie, we're just waiting for the model to be updated. He's already got a lot of the physics in place, so it'll come on board here pretty soon, and he'll just be cranking away on that one, probably at the tail end of this, all the way until we get to our test races in December, January.
Awesome. And Ross, where are we going to see you at today here? That's my final question for you before I let you go get ready to run this race.
Well, I'm hoping to be up there, fighting for podiums. I mean, a lot's going to come down to what happens in the mix. I mean, slipstreaming, it's definitely chaos. It's really hard to do and stay focused the entire time. I mean, the Shelbys have to stick together. I'm going to try and be with my teammate Wouter de Bruin, who's over in that wonderful Bumblebee, the Racer X teammate. And if we can stick with any of the Smile Power guys, I guess Mike's not here. He wasn't able to make it, but I think Bradley is in there, and I can't remember who else. But yeah, sticking with the Shelbys, trying to work together as much as we can and be a component at the end.
It'll be interesting to see where you're at. Hopefully, I get to talk to you later, Ross. But I'll let you go. Get yourself ready to race here, and good luck.
Well, thank you very much. I do want to point out one quick thing to look out for as you're watching today's race. Watch that final corner because it is going to be tricky. I think people are going to overcook that turnoff, and you're going to see some guys wiping across that Armco on the left side. So that's led to some very dangerous situations. Some people have just gotten away with the scrape. Some people have come all the way back across two parts of the track into pit road. So yeah, it's going to be one to watch.
It's going to be exciting to watch. Thanks for pointing that out, Ross, and hopefully we get to talk to you later.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Have a good race, guys.
Thanks, Ross. And while Ross gets ready for his race, let's bring in the other voice that you're going to hear for the 90 minutes here with Monza, one Mr. Alex Goldschmidt. Alex, good evening.
Brad, good to be alongside with you again. I know that Paul Glover's going to be whispering sweet nothings into our ears, and as you said, you pay for professional people on other sides. But yeah, what a track. Monza, 10 kilometers, the good old oval. I think, it's quite interesting what Ross said, keeping with the Shelbys. You look at it, that the Corvette's going to have the advantage when it comes to the fuel strat, but the weights, when you look at it, it's nearly 300 kilos heavier than the Ferrari 250 GTO. Of course, Nicholas Kirsten put the number 115 on pole overall for this race. We've got a combined grid of 33 cars. There is possibly going to be a bit of madness over 90 minutes, but what a track. I mean, you can't get better than the Temple of Speed itself.
Yeah, and there's a reason it's called the Temple of Speed. I love the historic layout has none of the chicanes that can cause problems. It's flat out go and figure out a turn, which is what all of these historic tracks were really about.
Yeah, I think also we've got to look at what are going to be the real main points that these drivers are going to have to look towards. And of course, Ross mentioned it, fuel management, slipstream, that's going to be crucial. All drivers will really have to keep both hands on the wheel at all times because this is going to be a white knuckle ride. And then, of course, with the slipstream comes closing rates. Now, of course, between the Division 3 and the Division 1 and 2, this is going to be rather important. And also what's going to be important is the fact that we're going to have a standing start today, Bradley, as well. None of this rolling start shenanigans that we've had in the previous rounds.
Yeah, I love that the historic sticks to, the standing start setup. And I like that Monza is going to be a standing start. It's going to be interesting to see how the drivers get away with that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, with the moderns, we see the traditional rolling start into turn one. Here at the historics, they stick very much to the game of just go, put the car on the track and just go and good luck and hopefully you survive.
Yeah, I mean, looking down at the results after qualifying, in Div 3 overall, Nicholas Kirsten put it on pole there. George Andalidis, quickest in Division 3 AM. Daniel Herlock, Division 1 and 2, overall fastest in the 87 Giulia TZ. Andy Schremser was the quickest in Div 1-2 AM in the Porsche 904 GTS number 272. Also, coming, I talked about weight when it came to the Corvette. I mean, the Shelby's like in between the 250 GTO and the C2 Stingray. But then you look at the power to weight ratio possibly of the Giulia TZ versus the Porsche. You've got a 1.6 litre inline 4 double overhead cam for the Giulia TZ, a 2 litre 4-cylinder engine for the Porsche 904, which has 23 more horsepower, but has a weight disparity of an additional 210 kilos. So, I mean, we've got some Fords which have lower fuel capacity, so they're going to be making a lot more stops. So I think for the likes of Becky Ely and also Ben Borman, they've got to go literally pedal to the metal in those cars and on those 1340cc Cosworth inline 4s. Then the Alpine 110, that is being driven. I think there was only one Scar Pope in the number 21. You know, the Lotuses are going to be the most regular in the pit lane. Alpine second, but then it's going to be a close nip and tuck between the Giulia and the 904 in Division 1 and 2 to see who gets the better opportunity. Of course, that additional 910 kilos means more fuel will get drained out of that car quicker than you can say the word jump. But it should provide an enthralling battle. I mean, looking at Division 1, 2, you've got Herlock, Strachan and Gardner. It's a top 3 lockout for Division 1, 2 overall. And then you've got Elko Busink leading the way in Div 1, 2 anyway, running at the top 4 in that class in the leading Porsche. Becky Ely did a sterling job in 5th in that class. But then there is one car that didn't really qualify. Alexander Schultz, the number 82 250 GTO, is going to start all the way down on the penultimate row of the grid, down in 30th spot. That's going to be, yeah. I mean, looks like there was a few yellow flags when Alexander Schultz went out on track, but qualifying times are for show. It's points to go here in the race itself, Brad.
Yeah, one of the big things that, I always talk about, it's one of my favorite sayings, and I feel like I should trademark it. It's not about where you start, it's about where you're at the end of 90 minutes, and it's one of the things that I've fallen in love with here with endurance racing. But that being said, if you qualify in a decent position, it doesn't hurt at all. Now, with that standing start, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a few minutes left here in warm-up session. Drivers are just kind of going around. They're getting comfortable. They're getting ready to go. Again, the track conditions are evolving here as we had some heavy rain earlier in the day in the server, and now you can see that spray there. We're seeing things dry out as they go. Let's go ahead and run through our grid as we have it standing. And let's just make sure you've got things up to speed. Make sure you find your favorite driver. Shout them out here in YouTube chat. We got a lot of people in chat here today. So Mr. Reese, as always, Phil across the pond. I see Kim in there. So find your favorite driver and shout them out. Nicholas Kirsten, Woodard de Bruin, Bradley Sellers, Magnus Dahlgren, your top 4. JT Tammy in 5th. Ross Smith in 6th. Timon Subic in 7th. And George Angelides in 8th. From there, it's Jerry Chen, John Mayer, Peter Meyer, and Dan Herlock will be bringing in the Div 1-2 pole. George Angelides, of course, your Div 3 AM pole position driver. Robert Strachan going through along with Reese Gardner, Aliko Busink, and Becky Ely down in 16th place here today. From there, we're going to move on to P17, which is going to be Luca Tavernari, Ben Borman in 18th, Oliver Day in 19th, and Oliver Newman in 20th place. From there, it is Andy Schremser rounding out your Div 1-2 AM pole, your final pole position here, up in 21st, ahead of Neil Wood, David Junt, and Gilles Lalonde. From there, it is going to be 25th place, which is going to see the likes of Scar Pope. And then from there, we've got Philippe Ducardi, your next Div 1-2 AM, Michael Locke, Adam Gray, your 28th place driver. And this is getting way back in the field. From there, 29th, Eric Monet, 30th place is Alexander Schulz. 31st, Tony McCoffin. Stacy Scott's in 32nd place. And then one more driver we cannot forget, Fernando Ferreira in 33rd. So 33 drivers here on the grid today, Alex. How those Div 3, the Div 3 in the back, Alexander Schulz, standing start, how quickly can Alexander carve through the field, I wonder?
It's going to be a tall order, first of all, because you look at Schultz starting down in 30th, then you get to the next of the, you get to the first of the Div 3 AMs, which will be Peter Meyer. That's 17, 18 places together. So the biggest thing is it's about how Schultz micromanages it, because of course he's going to be a quicker car. As long as he launches it off the line, but gets through the first lap, that's going to be crucial. I don't know how long it's going to be before he joins the rest of the field in Div 3 and Div 3 AM, but your guess is as good as mine.
It's going to be a fun one to see how things play out for Alexander Schulz. I'll be keeping my eye back there. I'm going to keep my eye on Andy Schremser as well. The drivers are getting set up here for the race start now, so we'll get ready for that race start to bring you along, and we're going to bring in the live pictures of the track and show you where things are. And yes, we are lining up 3 abreast here. So this is going to be a chaotic run. And again, I want to remind everyone just one last time, no chicane down the front stretch. I love the Historic Series specifically for that. No chicane down the front stretch. 2, 1, and here we go with an hour 13 on the timer, and Strachan for a penalty already. There's the green flag waving. We're underway. That number 19 got an absolutely abysmal start. That was abysmal in all the ways I can phrase it, but a good takeoff from Bradley Sellers down through. Again, no chicane. You see the crossover there to the speedway. We get going very quickly, and here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Buckle up, because the Historics, if you haven't seen them before, it's your first time, these cars are something else. Look at the drift the number 89 of Magnus Dahlgren is getting there early on. Down in the bottom right of your screen, you've got that number 46 Lotus, and they are moving around nice and pretty. That's Ben Borman, somebody running off.
Big off.
Hard in the wall, Alex.
That was a huge off as they were heading through. But yeah, Bradley Sellers got the whole shot. In comparison, Magnus Dahlgren showing great composure, great sideways control in that number 89 GTO. So it is Sellers in the Smart Power Racing Daytona. And it's, I think we did see someone exit stage left early doors in this race within the first couple of corners. I think it was heading up to the first Lesmo. As they go underneath the bridge, we're going to have a look at a quick replay here. So this is going to be, it's the 37 that's gone off. And that was Luca Tavanari. And then, that's one of the 4s that went off the circuit.
No.
And you can see a lot of bodywork being flung up into the air from the number 72 Lotus 23B Ford. But now Dahlgren battling away with Sellers as they're going to head through out of Parabolica. Now we get the crossover for the first time in this 90-minute race. Dahlgren in the tow, right on the rear bumper of Sellers, down the start, finish straight into the Rettifidia Tribune. Now they make the crossover on the other side of the cones. Dahlgren could have the run down the oval here for the first time.
This is why Monza has the name Temple of Speed. This is what you like to see. If you're a NASCAR fan, this is going to feel great. This is just flat out, hold the throttle down, run it up on the banking all the way down the backstretch, get in the slipstream, do what you can here. Dahlgren looking to get a pass done on Bradley Sellers early, going down 180 plus miles an hour in these Div 3s. It's a Ferrari versus a Shelby. And now they go through. This is going to be into Sud as they go around, and they come through. Magnus Dahlgren trying to hold on, and they are wiggly. I forget how the Historics handle, and the answer is they like a straight line and nothing else. So the banking helps a lot. Now it's a long run down into Curva Grande as they go. Here's Magnus Dahlgren looking for a peek out. Alex, I don't think he's going to get the pass, but he has the inside into Curva Grande. It's possible he can outbrake here. Let's see how they go side by side into Curva Grande.
Yeah, Sellers was hard on the brakes. You saw the front of the car dip, and then Dahlgren dived up the inside through Curva Grande, spinning the wheels up as they head into Della Roggia here at turn number 2 at an eclectic amount of speed, north of 150, 160 miles an hour. Then it's going to be hard on the brakes, flames spitting from the side exhaust of the Shelby as Dahlgren hits the brakes hard on the front, catches the grass a little bit through the curb, but manages to hold on. De Bruyne is now into third, back past through on Ross Smith with pole sitter Nicholas Kirsten just waiting to pick up the pieces. But here comes Sellers in that 289 cubic inch, 4.7 litre V8 from the blue oval. He's going round the outside. He's going to chance it through Del Vione at this point of the circuit as the yellow in sector 1. Sellers is going to have the run into Parabolica, but look at the scramble. Smith is in this, De Bruyne is in this, Kirsten is in this, as we've just heard. Someone else has also struck drama, and I think it might have been Tony McCoffin in the number 339 Porsche 904 from Div 1-2, but Sellers managing to keep the lead. And look at this, 5 scrambling within a second and a half of each other. Now they go back onto the main part of the circuit again. Well, they're going to go onto the oval section. Sellers has got a lead. We're going to have a look at another replay. Now this is from the start, isn't it, Brad? From where another vehicle went off.
Yeah, this is the start. So you have Becky Ely there to the right who went off, and then
And it was Tavernari that went through the trees, I think. Yeah, and Strachan in the 37. So Strachan all the way down in 32nd position. Looks like Tony McCoffin has retired from the race due to too much damage, but Sellers now starting to pull away. Dahlgren's still showing. Ross did say that the Ferraris were going to be a handful, but Dahlgren is holding. And there's been a car also go around, as you see. Oh no! Oh no! That was Kirsten! Nicholas Kirsten up in the air and over! He's out!
oh, Kirsten with a big up and around while Dahlgren and Sellers run. That is the danger of the oval. We'll get a replay of that up in a second, but it goes to show I'm very thankful that this is a simulator because that was a scary moment here. De Bruyn's down into 10th place now. Schultz is up to 11th. I said I was going to keep my eyes on Alexander Schultz. He's gotten up into 11th. Wooder De Bruyn now down into 11th, but still side by side goes Magnus Dahlgren and Bradley Sellers yet again, and it is Sellers behind Dahlgren. Dahlgren, you see, not afraid to kick the back end of that Ferrari 250 out and about as he goes down and around, and oh, I can't get over seeing a car flipping through the air like that. We've never seen something like that here in the historic series or the modern series, or frankly, it's been a long time since I've seen that in any sort of sim racing period. That's a
No, that was De Bruyn. That was De Bruyn. My apologies there. I thought it was Kirsten. It was the other Ferrari. It was the Shelby of Wouter De Bruyn that spun it coming out of Soplaverta Sud through turn 9 and went skywards. Right, let's have a look at this. Okay, so coming out of turn number 9 at a full rate of speed, De Bruyn goes a little bit further down. As they come out of the corner, you can see the back end already starting to step out a little bit on the Shelby. Then he loses it, tags the barrier on the left, pinballs him, and brings him into the path nearly of Division 1-2s that are going onto the oval.
he's in the pits. I mean, but wow, he's still in the session, surprisingly. We're getting news that he just got back on the track and kept going. That's something else. Wow, that is something else entirely.
I've been waiting for this time to say it. For the first time tonight, mamma mia, that was a big one. But now, Ross Smith has just taken the race lead. He was waiting behind Sellers and Dahlgren, picked his spot, dived to the inside, and the Rookie Monsters Shelby Daytona, the 00, is leading the way. And we're not even 10 minutes in, but I'm seeing speeds of nearly 190 miles an hour at the moment, folks. Okay, let's have a look at this replay. This is a replay. De Bruyn, bang, hits the barriers. Okay, it's doing its Gincana AI impersonation. Like, literally, you could just see how many pirouettes that car's done, at least a 15, 20. And bang, into the barriers, mounts the pit lane barrier as well, and then he just keeps on going. But I haven't seen him break sector number 3 yet, but there he goes. Wouter De Bruyn picks up where he left off. But now Ross Smith has just... Oh, what's happened to Ross Smith? He's absolutely lost it. He was leading. Now, I'm not too sure. We had to cut to that replay just to watch that again in slow-mo. Thank you very much, Paul Glover. So we'll in a minute we'll find out what happened to Ross Smith, who's now dropped all the way down to 9th. He's behind John Mayer in the Div 3 AM number 88 250 GTO. So let's have a look at the replay and look at this. This was a three-way scrap for the lead. Oh, he's twitching all over the place, was Ross Smith. Sideways, does he hit the barrier? Yes, he does with the right rear, the left rear, and so does Bradley Sellers.
What was... Yeah, we'll need another angle of that because I worry that there was contact between Sellers and Smith into that braking zone, but if you're Magnus Dahlgren, you don't care at the moment because Magnus Dahlgren now has a 1.9, make it almost a 2-second lead over Nicholas Kirsten there in second place. And they're just going to stretch things out, take things off, and do what they can to just breathe for a little bit because that is going to just open up a gap. But slipstream can be powerful here, but you can see just how spread out the field is getting here. The lack of power of the Div 1-2 is impressive to me. We'll get this on board really quick here of Sellers, Alex, and was there contact here? So Dahlgren goes to the inside, Sellers comes out, Ross is there in the front.
This is going to be
hard on the brake.
Oh, there was a slight touch, right front to left rear. It sends Ross Smith sideways, and then Sellers, well, through sympathy, I think lost the back end of his own Shelby Daytona. And Ross, he was doing a bit of grass mowing. Jonathan Farmer, you need to send an invoice to Ross Smith urgently. But yeah, Magnus Dahlgren just kept his cool, kept his calm, and now he's got an eye on 2.8 second lead over Nicholas Kirsten. So it's a Ferrari 1-2 on home soil. JT Tami in the number 4 Chevy Corvette Stingray is rounding out the top 3. Bradley Sellers. And now we've got, this is Div 1 and 2 we're seeing. Oh, that was a big old wobble. That was a big old wobble from the 87 of Daniel Herlock. And Elko Bussink leads the class at the moment. Schremser leads Div 1-2 AM. But this is line astern. These cars are topping out at about 152, give or take. The Div 3s are topping out at 190 miles an hour.
It's a huge speed difference. And the one thing we haven't really gotten to see yet is that crossover between the classes. When we see the Div 3s catch to the rear of Div 1-2s, it's getting close. It's getting close, but we haven't started to see that crossover yet. And when you get battles like the front line battle between Dahlgren, Kirsten, and of course there's a little gap there, but you get those drivers mixed in with Busink here, who has a handful of Dan Herlock behind there with the Porsche versus the Alpha, you're gonna start to see fireworks. If we haven't seen them already, that's really where you're going to see it, because we talked about it. You've got to be careful as a Div 3 for the Div 1-2, and the Div 1-2s have to be careful where the Div 3s are. Once we start mixing them together and get everything just thrown in that wonderful blender of mixed class endurance racing, it's going to feel like a whole new race here coming up soon. And to give you an idea of the speed difference, 2:34.3 for Magnus Dahlgren on the last lap. And for our Div 1-2 leader, Busink, it was a 2:53.0 on the last lap. It's a huge speed difference all the way through as they go. Bradley Sellers has started to catch up to Kirsten and is trying to just close that gap a little bit through the speedway section that Shelby Daytona, giving it all it has there on your screen. Busink is just now coming through, and now this is a three-way battle here, Alex, between Busink, Herlock, and Ben Borman in a Lotus that I kind of wrote off for today just because of the fuel mileage, but it looks like that Lotus is going to possibly be a contender here.
It is. Borman's looking a little bit cleaner through the apexes and is going to dive to the inside here onto Superletvetta Nord, trying to get the tighter line towards the bottom, maybe try and get a bit of side draft, but that has lost him a couple of miles an hour, if I'm completely honest. Stacey Scotts could be the first driver that Dahlgren, Kirsten, Sellers just put in the new fastest lap overall of the race. A 2:33.778. Went purple in Sector 2 with a brilliant 47.976 middle sector. But you can just see how close it is. Busink and Herlock intertwined into battle. Through the second part of the oval they go. And you can see that Herlock's just waiting for Busink to make a mistake. I think Borman's doing a sensible thing here in the Lotus. We've got a yellow out in sector number 2, so someone might. So it looks like well, then we've got a new fastest lap for Maya, who's just gone across the line in that particular car. A 2:37.23. Heavens to Betsy. 2:37.231 by the guy who's 4th in Division 3 AM and is currently running P11 overall. Oh, moment for Busink! Coming out of Rogia. Or was that Curva Grande? That's going to allow Herlock the opportunity to fire it up the inside, possibly at one of the two Lesmos coming up into turn 3. The first Lesmo can see there how tight they get to the apex. A little bit more. And then there's this battle here. This is for 4th in the class. Reese Garner leading that one. He's got Tavanari and David Junt just behind. Junt from the Swiss driver. Known David for quite a long time, actually. And he's got the headlights on already, is David. So he's now trying to say, right, boys, here I come. Ready or not. And now, here's the crossover. Oh, my goodness me. That was Wouter de Bruyne going at full chat across the line past them as if they were standing still with a 30-mile-an-hour speed differential.
That is the speed difference between Div 1-2 and Div 3 here. So we're going to get another replay coming up. Plenty of things here. This is Moynihan getting taken out, and I have a feeling that this one is going to be unfortunate. Yeah, this is from a long way back making a run here.
That was never going to work. I'm sorry.
No, that was just... Just as a reminder, the brake pedal is the middle pedal of the 3. The clutch is the left. The gas is the right. That was... Man, I don't know if he just missed a braking point or just didn't brake. That was...
Well, he could have braked, but maybe he might have had an issue with the brake pedal. You just never know. He might have just thought, yeah, I've got enough brake pressure on that one. No, I don't. But here we go, the battle for P2. Kirsten, the pole sitter, versus Sellers. Well, Kirsten, the pole sitter, and Sellers is trying to pick... Oh, that's brave. That's really brave at over 160 plus miles an hour. And the Shelby Daytona number 93 gets through. Bussink and Herlock are still mano in mano. As you see inside, picture in picture, another great battle kicking off here. But yeah, you know what, Brad? I think Paul and us, we've got not enough camera angles. There's Wouter de Bruyne. He's just like gone, yep, thank you, bye, see ya. And he, you know, there was one particular famous film that I saw, and yeah, Days of Thunder, where Cole Trickle goes, see ya, Harry, I'm out of here. Puts it to 5th and then punches the throttle. That's Wouter de Bruyne at the moment. He's trying his best Cole Trickle 1964 impersonation.
He is, and he's doing a halfway decent job. He is down a lap, but he's snaking his way through the field. The big problem for him will be getting that lap back. Of course, no, full course yellows to contend with. Only black flags here today. So for Wouter de Bruyne, it will really be a case of strategy and pace to try to get his lap back here as he can. Sellers getting around Dahlgren at the moment as they go through, or Sellers catching Dahlgren at the moment. That gap's 3.4 seconds. Continuing to go through.
Well, looking at the lap times, Sellers just took a second out of Dahlgren. He took a second out of Dahlgren and put in a 2:33.25. And that is George Andalidis and Jerry Chen, bottom right, battling over the Division 3 AM lead. And they are 4/10 apart. So it is Ferrari versus Ferrari. The 27 versus the 66, and you see now that Sellers and Kirsten are dealing with this Div 3. Oh, Kirsten got tagged and into the barriers by one of the Div 1-2 cars. I didn't really catch which one it was, but it was definitely a Porsche.
That was a big moment there, and we said, and we have said, and we will say, they need to watch out for each other. You can clearly see at the moment that is not how that happened. That was Kirsten down into 3rd now. Here
right,
as we go by a big gap.
Kirsten's back off the circuit again. That was a bit of a Code Brown clean-up on aisle 3 there. That would have been through Seraglio and into Del Vione. Vialone at turn 6, and now he's going to go through into Parabolica, of course, in the modernised version. That would now be known as Curva Alboreto in the current 3.6 mile layout that normally frequents this particular circuit. But this is what happens here. So Sellers goes to the outside, Dahlgren follows suit. Now down they go through the final corner. Oh, that was nasty. That was nasty.
Who was that Div 1-2?
It was the 40, I think. Yeah, Eric Monnier that got taken out earlier.
That is just a case of not... I don't want to say not heads-up driving, but I want to say not being willing to just lift that extra half a second to keep the car low. That was... Yeah, that's unfortunate to see here. I do want to bring a little bit of a spice to this Div 3 AM battle as it stands for the leaders of Chen and Angelides. Not only do they have their modern series back and forth that they are currently 1 and 2 in the Div 3 AM standings here in Historics as well. So Angelides is currently trailing Jerry Chen, so George is going to be looking for anything he can get here that he has. We'll see how that goes in that battle. Chen is now back 2 seconds on Angelides as they go. Nicholas Kirsten here making a run down the inside again, passing these Div 1-2s like they're standing still, Alex. They might as well just pull over and stop if that's how slow it looks.
Well, at the moment, Magnus Dahlgren should pull over and stop because Bradley Sellers is taking chunks out of him. Sellers just did a low 1 minute 1.5 in Sector 1. Dahlgren, high 1 minute 1.9, a 48.2 through Sector 2, and a 48.4 respectively. That gap is now under a second. And again, another tenth and a bit taken out by Sellers. So Dahlgren knows that the Jaws music is burning into his eardrums as I speak at this moment in time. But the gap now down to around about 8 tenths. Sellers is on an absolute mission. He is gunning for Dahlgren, and there he is. You can see him in earshot. Now they go up through the circuit. Now they're going to be hard on the brakes. They're going to turn it in right. And you can just see, Dahlgren's very, very twitchy. The back end of that car is loose, and so is Sellers. Now they're going to go through into turn 4 at the second cover of Di Lesmo, and then it's going to be into Saraglio, which is basically a flat-out left-hand kink. And then you're going to go into Curva del Vialone, which is at full throttle as well. And I think that George Angelides has also been off, and he's now 2.8 seconds behind Division 3 AM leader Jerry Chen. Let's have a look at the replay here. Dives to the inside of one of the... that's going to be a bit too close for comfort. Oh, no! Oh, he got tagged. That was Jerry Chen. Jerry Chen got tagged by George Angelides. Chen was still on the tarmac. Oh, no, there's Jerry. That's Jerry Chen trying to recover. And what George Angelides did, the sportsman thing, and let Jerry get past and say, sorry, my bad. Thereby, race control looked favourably on him post-race.
Yeah, George is a very wise driver in that regard. Definitely not taking the McLaren approach and saying, nope, that's mine and we'll fight it out later. Saying,
no papaya rules.
Yeah, very wise to say, nope, I was wrong on that, go through. Here's Bradley Sellers running through with Dahlgren just ahead. They're going through the super speedway section and running around. And now we'll get another replay here of that moment we saw. And I think this was just a case of getting... This is Michael Locke here, actually.
No. Bang, straight to the fence.
I hope the marshal's okay. And the marshal didn't seem to mind Michael Locke coming through. But that is one of the interesting things of these historic tracks is those marshals. They were made different back in the 64 series, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I have to second that. But here goes Sellers. Possibly for the race lead. I think he's just got through. They are still wheel to wheel. That is incredibly brave. And through. Oh, Dahlgren. Dahlgren, he had a tank slapper and a half as Sellers goes through a Curva Grande through the dirt. Both of them struggling for traction. They are. We're on lap 11 now. And there you see the Div 1-2 lead battle. Oh, lock up there. From the number 47 of Elko Busick, and Herlock's trying to get through. Herlock wasn't able to take advantage of it. My God, we've got two fantastic class-leading battles. We don't know which way to look, Brad, at the moment. This is madness here at Monza.
Well, and I'll tell you right now, with that overhead shot we have here on the Div 3 battle, Div 1-2 is just ahead of them. You can see them just going under the bridge now. Here's Div 3 coming through. They're all coming up in one shot here by just a matter of about a second or two. This is about to be the crossover point of all crossover points. We've seen these Div 3 drivers of Dahlgren and Sellers fight it out here through and fight their way through the field. Well, now they're going to pass the fight for Div 1-2, and look at that. Dahlgren and Sellers is going to be just holding on. Sellers sits back, and now we're just going to mix things up. The 47 runs off of David.
Oh, mamma mia.
No. Oh.
See, there's got to be some risk. Right, okay, Sellers now dives into the pits. So this could be to get out of trouble. And in all respect to Magnus Dahlgren, that is not what Elko Busick wanted, to be yeeted by the leader, the overall leader in Division 3. Reese Gardner, in the meantime, has got David Yunt close behind him. That battle is very, very close indeed as they go onto the oval section here. David Yunt with the headlights ablaze, diving towards the inside. Now that's a very, very different tactic that some people would not take, because you're not in the slipstream of the car in front. But David Yunt is going to try and do what he can. Oh, the back end was so loose it nearly broke traction there, and has given an opportunity. Yunt is right with him down the back stretch of the oval section as they go into the bank part of it. They've got another fast closing car. That is going to be the 81, I believe, of Timon Suvic. So, well, what can I say, Brad? I've got absolutely no way of how this race is going to pan out, but we are nearly half an hour in. Can you believe it's gone so far, so blooming quickly? I can't.
It's been half an hour, and it feels like it's been the last lap of this race ever since lap 2. These drivers have not let up for a millisecond. They have pushed and pushed and pushed, and the cars have been a handful upon a handful upon a handful. And you know, before the race, we were given some different things here. We got a replay going, and this is Scar Pope. What has Scar Pope gotten himself into here? Scar Pope, what have you done? Oh, the rear end kicked out. Yeah, that's not what Scar Pope wanted for his day, but you know,
I'm sure Jean Ragnotti would be pleased with that effort in an Alpine. If anyone doesn't know who Jean Ragnotti is, he is a legend within stunt driving circles, but also ran with Alpine back in the day when the A110 was a pretty good car to go rallying in the 70s. But Reese Garner and David Yunt still battling away, tooth and nail, hammer and tongs. This is a battle for P3 in the Division 1-2 overall classification. And they're literally a tenth apart, but David Yunt at the moment can't get the best of Reese Garner. He's just trying to put the pressure on by having the headlights on and seeing whether Gardner's going to make an unforced error. And if Gardner makes an unforced error like he did just then, David Yunt will have the inside line. Yunt decides not to take advantage of it at that point. But then you see picture in picture another three-way scrap as that's McCoffin, Strachan and Monnier, I believe. That's 25th, 26th and 27th overall. Monnier, after being unceremoniously shoved off the circuit at turn 1, is trying to fight back. So, yeah, it's not going to be an easy one for Monnier. But, I mean, especially when you've got two other drivers who are battling for track position. I mean, at the moment, your class leaders, Division 3, Magnus Dahlgren. Division 3 AM, George Angelidis. Elko Busick still holding on to the lead in Division 1-2. And Andy Schremser in Division 1-2 AM is also leading that class. I'm going to say this. Bradley Sellers could be on a 2-stopper here, I think.
It seems like it. It does seem like Bradley Sellers has the setup for a 2-stop. And if he does, he... honestly, even though he's sitting back in 6th overall right now, he could pull an absolute major upset if he can keep that moving the right way in the right direction as we go. Fuel management is a big focus of this race. With the majority of this circuit, you are on the throttle. Very rarely are you touching the brakes through, and when you do, usually it's just to get the car rotated, get right back in the throttle here. One of the things that I wondered about earlier, we were sent keys to the race going through, and there was one that I was gonna ask Ross about, and I thought I'd hold on to it because I thought it would self-explain as this goes on. One of the keys to the race that we were told for surviving this run was to keep both hands on the wheel. And I kind of looked at that, and I thought that was self-explanatory, right? I kind of thought, I was like, why would you not drive with both hands on the wheel? But I'm really starting to understand why keeping both hands on the wheel was a key to the race. Some of these drivers are probably white-knuckled by now. And again, we've just crossed the 30-minute mark. We've got 59 minutes and 50 seconds to go, and these drivers are probably white-knuckled, especially if you're Busink here, who's had Herlock on your bumper for 30 minutes now. If you're someone up in the front like Dahlgren, who had Bradley Sellers, who was gaining by over a second a lap for a while. You know, this is competitive, hard racing. This is arguably probably some of the closest historic racing we've had all season, with seeing these drivers just bumper to bumper. Herlock, hold it.
Oi. Clean up on aisle 3, please.
Oh, man.
He's going to need to check his underwear after that one, but they're coming into pit lane now. So they've had enough. Right. Will Gardner and Yunt follow suit? The answer is yes. So, yeah, look to be pretty even on pace. But now we've got this battle between Tony McGoffin in the 339, and he is joined by, who's that? I'm trying to make that. Strachan is behind him, so Robert Strachan. So that's the position. That's the position for, well, it's for 10th and 11th in class. And now we're seeing a hive of activity in Division 1-2. Schremser from the AM class of that division has just pitted, so it's going to be quite interesting to see. Herlock was out. Herlock has just jumped Busink in the pits, and look at the gap, the advantage. Oh, Busink's dropped to third through the pit stop phase, and then very soon what we're going to have, Bradley, is that all-important Division 3 pit stop window. Now, because the fact that Bradley Sellers pitted with about 2.5 minutes to go before the 30-minute mark, I think that was to minimise his time in pit road, and also mainly because of the fact the Shelby Daytona, when you look at how much fuel it has in the tank, it has the least, 108 litres. So if he's running with a two-stop strategy, I think the main thing is that Sellers has got the jump on the rest of the field. And you look now, Sellers is up into fourth. Schultz and Suvik have both pitted, and they are a little further back. They're about 40 plus seconds behind. Well, Suvik is 40 plus seconds behind. Ben Borman leads the Division 1-2 class in the most unexpected car that you, earlier on in the broadcast, Brad, said, I kind of wrote that off. The Lotus 23B Ford might be a bit more frugal than people might think.
That it might be, even though it has a 34-liter fuel tank. It's 454 kilograms with a 34-liter fuel tank. In my head, I was telling you that this car wasn't going to be competitive here in this race. And I had a conversation with one Mr. James Parfit at round 1 at Daytona about my opinions of this car, and I thought I was going to get fired for it. So it's been no secret throughout the historic season that the Lotus has been one of my least preferred Div 1-2 cars in the field, just for the way it sets up. But it is very, very feisty when it gets the right setup car track combo. We've seen it absolutely decimate the field in certain rounds of this series, and surprisingly, Monza, a track that is all about speed and power heavy, it seems like the Lotus might be on for a very good run here. 6 seconds the lead over Elko Busink as Ben Borman goes. That lead continuing to open up. The big question will be how the pit stops time around. And also, I want to point out that in Div 3, Bradley Sellers is in the lead right now, 12 seconds over Dahlgren, as JT Tammy is not pit yet there in Div 3 overall. So JT Tammy still needs to pit, and the gap 57 seconds. Technically, Bradley Sellers has a 12-second lead.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, by the time that Tammy's going to try and stretch that fuel window as long as possible, to be honest with you, is burning off the fuel at a rapid rate, and has also set personal bests in sectors 2 and 3. But I think it's the tactics that Bradley Sellers, and you look at not just JT Tammy, but Peter Meyer, who's now the Division 3 AM class leader. They are the only 2 vehicles yet to pit. So, what I think and what I fear is going to be the play for Meyer and Tammy is that they are going to brim those cars to the full until they're literally bursting with fuel. Was that Dahlgren just going past? I think it was, yes, on Meyer, but they can really stretch the fuel out. Now there's a little window of opportunity. You know, it's going to take a little bit longer to fuel up these cars. You know, what is it? 48 seconds for the Stingray. It was 44 for the Ferrari, 36 for the Daytona. So this gives the advantage to Sellers 100%. But if Tammy decides to short fuel and go for a shorter second window, he could still retain the lead ahead of Sellers. But with the way that Sellers is going through that opening sector, he's consistent. 1 minute 2.3, 1 minute 2.4, 1 minute 2.3. So the consistency from Bradley Sellers on that number 93 Shelby Daytona, you cannot discount the fact that Sellers has had a little bit of a moment. Bussink's just had a bit of an off, whilst Herlock is back with them. But Borman at the moment. Now, I'm wondering when Ben Borman actually pitted. That's the key thing. That I'd like to know when he actually did his first pit stop. I can't remember when.
He had a 21-second pit stop when he did pit, so...
Okay. So he pitted, like, literally within the first couple of laps to get an undercut on the leaders. So when you look at it, the Giulia's going to take 33 seconds to fully brim. The Porsche, 37, in comparison with the amount of... So De Bruyne has decided to jump back into the pit lane. He's still a lap down, but he's up to 12th now. So yeah, I think for me in Div 3, Sellers might have a pretty good strategy run down pat. Might have saved a little bit of fuel.
I think Sellers is definitely going to be a top contender for this race as we go through. There is Borman into the pits off the left-hand side of your shot. That's going to let Busink come through and Herlock come through. That's going to set things up here in Div 1-2 quite interestingly for them as they go. Borman won't be in the pits very long. Again, just 34 liters that have to go into that Lotus, so they'll go through. Busink now in the battle with Herlock. This is the battle for Div 1-2 lead again. Second verse, same as the first. Yellow flag out for Stacy Scott. We'll see if we can pick up on what happened there to cause that here. And that is actually a DNF for Stacy Scott. So our first official DNF.
Oh, okay.
Surprising to say the first DNF, considering we saw a car literally spinning like a top in the air. Like,
well, let's have a look at the replay. This is Stacy Scott's. Oh no! That is gonna hurt. Oh, that's straight on into the fence, past the Royal Cola barrier.
Wow, that's yeah, that's first off, the marshal didn't move yet again. Somebody might want to wake the marshals up. Second, that was slowed down a little bit. So that's
I think that was Stacy Scott's at probably the best part of 135 miles an hour, going straight on. That is something you don't normally see in these Div 1-2 cars. Oh, Busick off the road. Herlock, nearly got the inside line on that particular point as they come down Villalone here at turn 6. And you can just see that Busick is trying to control that lower sung to the ground Porsche 904 GTS. Of course, the power to weight ratio is going to be in the favour of the Alfa Romeo Giulietta TZ. You're looking at 168 horsepower to 700 kilos, then 191 horsepower in that 2-litre 4-cylinder Porsche engine. Oh, we've had another DNF. Robert Strachan, the first of the Div 1-2 main protagonists, has just had a DNF registered against his name. So it may have been a problem whilst affecting a second pit stop of the night. But, oh, no. Herlock, don't you lose it again. It's just like Herlock has just gotten closer and closer and closer to Bunning. I don't know how many times I need to repeat the word closer, but every time he gets near to Elko Busick, he loses the back end.
He does, and I know that the historics are very, very apt to lose the rear end and slide around a little bit, but stability. It's like that car just isn't stable enough to hold on and push the way he is. Look at the lack of a gap here with Reese Gardner and David Junt. This is third for Div 1-2. We've been watching the battle for the lead. They're 14 seconds back. And look at the wiggles going through the oval here. They're keeping the cars together, but I mean, they were separated. I don't think I could have fit a piece of paper between them. I definitely wouldn't have fit between them.
No.
They're staying close here, Alex. And again, this is the battle for third in class.
Well, if they were a set of eyelids, you need to put some matchsticks between them, because look at how close David Junt is now on the back of Gardner into the second half of the oval. This is going to be very, very close indeed. At over 130 plus miles an hour, they are put to the floor through. Oh, Junt nearly loses the back end going up into the oval at the top part of the circuit. He lost that back end ever so slightly. The car went slightly loose, and now he tightens it up coming down onto the start-finish stretch. And there you see the on-board from the front bumper cam. That's how close he is to Reese Gardner in the number 71. That just goes to show how close David Junt is to Reese Gardner, and Gardner is just keeping it on the racing line. Now into Curva Grande at over 130 plus miles an hour, maybe even 140. And Gardner lets the car naturally step out a little bit on the right-hand side, but Junt now trying to get through. This is into Della Roggia, into the Lesmos. We go. It's going to be hard on the brakes. Well, Junt tries something here. He decides discretion is the better part of valor. We're nearly at the halfway point of this race, and this battle still carries on, regardless of how much time is left. You could put them on this server for 3 hours. I can guarantee you that these two would still very much be intertwined at the moment as they are now.
Top speed through that run for them was 256 kilometers an hour. I can't do the conversion to miles an hour off the top of my head, but 256 kilometers an hour, Alex. That is ridiculous to be this close, this long, that fast. This is absolute stellar racing to see from these guys as they go.
That's nearly 159 miles an hour there, Bradley.
Goodness me. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Just for comparison for everybody at home, your average highway speed, at least here in the US, is about 75 miles an hour. And think about how fast that feels. And you leave a pretty considerable margin to the cars around you. They're driving bumper to bumper that close at 160 miles an hour. That is ridiculous, Alex. Absolutely ridiculous.
And we're seeing it again, picture in picture here, Brad, because the two leaders, Busick and Herlock, they're back together again down the back stretch, heading in towards turn number 9. Junt again trying to go to the low side ahead, behind Gardner to try and get the jump on him. but the number 71 is just not blinking at all. And look, Herlock's put on the same tactics as David Yunt. He's put the headlights on, saying, here comes the charge of the light brigade. It doesn't matter what you do, I'm going to hold on to your back bumper as if my life depended on it. Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff between these two. This two pair of dueling protagonists. 2 for the race lead, 2 for the final step on the rostrum.
Yeah, and the one thing I do want to also point out, just in the same way we have Angelides and Jerry Chin battling for the championship and they're standing in 1-2, if you look in that bottom right, that's 1-2 in the championship. It's Busink leading Herlock in the championship right now. And look at that picture. That is gorgeous to see them running through the way they are. I mean, just wow. I mean,
Brad, you've just had a man moment. I'm not going to take that one away from you, mate. I'm not going to take that away from you, buddy. It was just like you were lost for words, and I went, yes, he's clearly had a motorsport man moment right there, a triple M, as I like to now call it. But yeah, I mean, to see, yeah, exactly. It's you know, we get excited here in commentary. We're passionate. We love this. And to see how close it's been, I mean, we're now, folks, we are past halfway. We're 44 minutes and 25 seconds to go until the checkered. And more to the point, well, as much as we've seen this duo of great battlers for Division 1 and 2, Bradley Sellers leads by 11 seconds ahead of Magnus Dahlgren, with Nicholas Kirsten, who put it on pole position. Well, that wasn't that good. That was John Mayer just going through shots ahead of our third place battle in Division 1-2. So Sellers leads from Dahlgren and Kirsten in Div 3. Div 3 Angelidis leads ahead of Chen and Meyer. It's Peter Meyer in the number 19 Stingray. Elko Busink, Daniel Herlock and Reese Garner round out the... Well, we can't not include David Yuntz, because otherwise you'd probably ostracise me on that point. That's the top 4 in our Div 1-2 battles. Andy Schremser still leading in the number 272 Porsche 904 GTS. He's got 3 cars in between himself and Fernando Ferreira in the number 51 Porsche. Eric Moignet in the next place of the Porsche 904 GTS is the number 40, rounds out the top 28 and rounds out Division 1-2. And there's the top 3, well, the top 5 or 6, as again, just the way these cars are just, they are just giving absolutely no quarter whatsoever. But I think we're probably, if I'm going to be completely honest here with you, Brad, this is quite a lengthy circuit, you know, 6.21 miles, 10 kilometers. So we've done 180 kilometers of racing based on our race leader, all the way up to 11th position, have yet to be lapped. So we've done 180 kilometers of racing. That's about 115 miles so far completed.
This is getting ridiculous. Busink having a moment there, getting a little loose off with Herlock. They both tapped the dirt there for a second. You know, with Div 3, this has genuinely turned into a strategy calculation. Magnus Dahlgren is closing the gap to Sellers up front. The gap's down to 8 seconds now, 8.7 as it stands. It's fluctuating up and down slightly as they go. And anyone, I think, in that top 5, if they've done their fuel calculations right, depending on where they're at, could win this race depending on how fuel plays out. We've got Lalonde on screen here that is looking to have a run here with Neil Wood, and they are pushing along very competitively, and that is Fernando Ferreira just behind that is making this a 3-car battle through for the position of P22 overall. Even though Fernando's in a different class, he's sticking right along the back here in Div 1-2 going through. There's pockets of these Div 1-2 battles all the way through. So Div 3 and Div 3 Am are really a strategy game right now. They've got power but the strategy is what's changing them out. Div 1-2, it is genuinely a strategy of pace. Who is the fastest and the most competitive?
Yeah, and who's got the biggest cojones? More to the point. That's the key thing. You know, if you gotta have no fear, you gotta have no lift. Even if you want to, and you're like, this guy's right up my exhaust pipe, but I've got to do everything I can to keep him behind me, or keep her behind me. And that's the crucial point. I mean, I don't think it's going to be long before we see... Well, Bradley Sellers has just had an off. He actually had an off in the previous lap. Did a 51.7 second sector. He did have a... He's now gained back another 4 seconds. So let's have a look at a quick replay here. So this is Bradley Sellers, all going off. No, he just lost it completely, hit the kitty litter, kept the throttle fully planted, and back onto the circuit goes to the number 93. Yeah, he lost 4 seconds in Sector 2 to Magnus Dahlgren, but he's picked up the pace again. He was nearly 3.5 tenths quicker in Sector 1. Sector 2, 10.5. Busink and Herlock at it again. Oh, this could be very, very close going into Curva Grande. 40 minutes, just under 40 minutes to go. I think we could probably see in maybe another 10 minutes time that Bradley Sellers may come in for his last pit stop. I'd probably say 10 to 15 minutes because he's now... Oh, dearie me, they both went off. They are pushing that hard, these two, in Division 1-2. It's just like, you know, they're going to catch up to faster traffic. Lock up on the front right of the Porsche of Busink as they come out of the second Lesmo. But it just goes to show how hard these drivers are really, really pushing. And now you see how close Busink got to the wall. And Herlock went, I don't want to pinball myself off into the lush greenery around here at Monza. But Yuntz and Gardner, and there's Sellers going past them. And he's gone, hey, how you doing? See you later. Bye. I don't know what to say, but I think at the end of it all, it's as you said, Div 1-2 is an outright strategy call of who's got the biggest set of steals and who's going to put it on the line where they need to the most, because after this there's only 3 more rounds to go, and this will be one for quite a few drivers to remember, maybe for the right reason, saying that was hella fun. I'm sweatier than a pig in a blanket after an hour and a half of racing. White knuckles are white, blood pressure's through the roof, adrenaline rate that's probably gone north of the sky above us at the moment when it's considered with every single driver, as Sellers has, I believe, yes, is now pitting. So could this mean Bradley Sellers, he's going for the fastest routes around this circuit? Everyone else will do a 2-stopper, but if I'm completely honest here, he's now having fuel in for 30 seconds. Let's see if he brims it. He probably will have brimmed it. Yeah, 36. There we go. Ross Smith has now dived into the pit lane. So, yeah, I think the thing is now is that Sellers will have to do a little bit of maybe a bit of a 1000 IQ fuel strat as we've right on board. And there you see it. We're inside the cockpit of Daniel Herlock and the Alfa Romeo Giulia TZ number 87, right with Elko Busink. Now, the red line on these cars, the Porsche, is 8,600 RPM. I think that literally Herlock has been at the 8,000 RPM red line for all of this race. That Porsche has got a little bit more additional rev range, and that can make all the difference.
It absolutely can, and you see the way Busink there, Herlock there, has to really muscle the car around through Curva Grande and just hold on to it. There's not a lot of traction in his car. It's that Alpha is just floating on its suspension. Busink into the wall there, taps the wall. Herlock again with an opportunity. I think the biggest moment here is Herlock keeps getting these opportunities of Busick making these small errors, but Herlock's not been able to capitalize. I think Herlock is gonna, I think he's enjoying the slipstream and really trying to play a little bit of a fuel game, but I think Herlock does need to think about when he wants to make that move, and surely Herlock won't leave it to the last second, but the way he's going here, I'm not surprised if he is fuel saving here, and I won't be surprised if he waits till the last second here in Div 1-2 to make that run. Up in Div 3 and Div 3 AM, Angelitas in Div 3 AM has the lead on Chen by 8 seconds, is continuing to go through. John Mayer is into the pits now. They're in 4th place in Div 3 AM. And then Sellers came out. There we go.
Herlock's waited.
Herlock's making the run.
But Herlock, is he going to keep it on the track? Yes, he is. Elko Busick, after nearly, well, the best part of nearly 55 minutes. Oh, who was that diving, threading the eye of the needle? Was that Angelidis?
I did not catch who that was. That might have.
It could have been any one of the Ferraris, so it could be John Mayer, Jerry Chen. But whoever that was brave to do that.
Yeah, that's a lot of trust.
Very, very brave.
That's a lot of trust in the Div 1-2s, especially the battle for the lead in Div 1-2. That's a lot of trust to not just send it around and through and trust them to know that you're there. And that's good heads-up driving from both Busick and Herlock, even though it cost Herlock really his biggest opportunity for the lead there. Herlock very wisely just letting that Div 3 that just sent it through. Respect to Herlock for that one.
Oh, Herlock gets a big old switch coming out of turn 9 there, Brad. Hold the phone, hold on to your underpants. I'm sure he had both, well, he either had both wheels, both hands on the wheel, benches, both hands on the wheel, or might have had to have done a bit of a Stig Blomqvist Scandinavian flick to correct that car. That was on the edge and then some. But still, no matter what play he tries, Herlock cannot get through on Busick. Busick's got to make a big old howler. And again, you see how much on the limit and beyond Herlock is. Daniel Herlock is not letting this one go. Busick is like thinking, what do I need to do to shake this man from my tail? It is absolutely ridiculous. And there we see the... So Alexander Schultz, let's not forget, started, folks, all the way down in 30th position. He did not set a lap in qualifying. And the Me Racing Ferrari 250 GTO, the number 82, is he's ahead of he's trying to close in on Ross Smith, who has made his second pit stop. So well, Ross just overtook him, but the thing was, Ross has got a fresh tank of fuel in that car. He pitted not that long after Sellers, so it looks like, well, the car, according to the strat, was, yeah, Chevy's the car to beat. No, I think the Shelby Daytona has become the dark horse of the race, especially in the hands of Bradley Sellers, because you look at the times he's putting in. Opening sector is nearly matching Nicholas Kirsten in the Ferrari 250, the number 115. They're now going through sector 2, waiting for Sellers to cross that line. Dahlgren was the quickest out of the top 3 with a 48.048. And when Sellers crosses that line, is he going to be quicker than the race leader? This will be a very, very telling point.
This is absolutely crazy. And we've got more drivers coming back into the pits. Becky Ely is into the pits here. Pit strategy is really determining the day here, and we're about to hit 30 minutes to go, Alex. I'm trying to do mental math, which is not at all my strong suit. No. I'm trying to do mental math on who's got time to go. And yeah, Paul's reaction in the background, I know you can't hear it on stream, ladies and gentlemen. He just said, oh, we only have 30 minutes left. Yes, this race is absolutely flying through. It feels like we just started this broadcast 5 minutes ago, but no, it has been a full hour of these cars flat out on track. This is crazy to watch and go through. JT Tammy up here in Div 3 is putting some pressure on Nicholas Kirsten, who is in second place there in that 115 on your screen. Behind is that white Corvette Stingray. And Alex, I'm in agreement with you. I think the Shelbys are really the car to beat here. And I don't even think it's based on the car. I think a lot of that is on the driver. I think Bradley Sellers.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there. I mean, Dahlgren's got a lead of about 20.7 seconds. JT Tammy in the Chevy Corvette Stingray, number 4, is now within striking distance. And in the previous sector, it's opened up slightly, but Tammy's able to make it work through that final part of the oval, where the Corvette's really like being able to stretch its legs. You know, as soon as you get it out of that oval and go into the Rettifilo Tribune, which is the grandstand, across that start-finish straight, you are pedal to the metal. Tavernari is again batting away with McCoffin, and they've got a car in front who they need. That's the Alpine, the only Alpine, Scar Pope, who had a moment earlier on.
That's close. That is very close here. Tavernari going around the inside. This is...
Oh, mamma mia. This is... All I'm going to say is, Scar Pope, just stay where you are. You've got 2 very fast cars up your inside into Curva Grande. Pope's still going to keep it pinned to the outside, but gives both drivers enough racing room to get through. Now oh, dearie me.
That's a spicy meatball.
Don't start with the accent. Mamma mia is bad enough, but with it's a spicy meatball. Sorry, I just had to... but Junt and Gardner have both pitted at the same time. Junt might get the overlap here. This is going to be close. Right, Timon Suvic has just pitted. What will be the final time in the number 81 Ferrari? I think Sellers... I'm waiting to see when Dahlgren and Kirsten decide to pit, as well as JT Tammy, because then that will effectively make Bradley Sellers with, 28.5 minutes to go, our de facto race leader. Now, if Sellers has been very wise, which I know he will have been, if he wanted to do a 2-stop race, then it would be the case of deciding, as Oliver Day, I think, has just pitted as well. And Gardner gets the jump on Junt again in the pit lane battle. Now we've got Bussink and Newman. They still... It was 2/10 of a second between Gardner and Junt. As Bussink is making more mistakes again. He is just really being put under pressure. They're going to go through Della Roggia now through turn 2. And then you've got to really line it up. You've got to help, you've got to coax the rear end into breaking a little bit of traction to rotate it. But then, of course, Busick we saw coming out of Gova di Lesmo 2, second Lesmo. And he's going to give it close to the wall again. Herlock's got the run. Now they're going through into Del Saraglio and Del Vialone very shortly.
Down in the bottom right here, Alex, we've got David Junt and Ben Borman that are continuing around. This is the battle for P19 or P18 overall. Ben Borman, of course, in that Lotus that I've wrongly discounted yet again here, as David Junt gets his way around the inside there against Ben Borman and goes through. But Ben Borman, conserve fuel, keep things in the mix. That Lotus still in a good position here, as Busink is again just not looking that fast, but is just putting the car in all the right places against Herlock here. And
into the pit lane they go.
In the pits. How does this one end?
Well, let's see. Okay, they were both on their marks at the same point. So the key point now is who is going to be out of that pit lane quicker. I've got a feeling if Herlock has saved enough fuel by being behind Busink It's 33 seconds to fill up the Alpha. It's 37 to fill up the Porsche. Because obviously what they've got to do is get it down off the jacks. And then get it into first. Then get it off of the line. In that pit lane. That's going to be very, very crucial. Woods De Bruyne comes in for what's going to be his final pit stop of the night. Yeah, this is like waiting. You know, you're at the edge of your seat. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
There we go. The lead has changed. The lead is changed in Div 1-2. Daniel Herlock has put the jump on Elko Bussink. And it's not by a little, it's by a lot.
Yeah, that is a big moment there for Herlock. That is possibly race deciding. Here's Ross Smith. Look at the wiggle from Ross Smith coming back out in front of traffic. As we have Reese Gardner going through. Ross Smith losing it out of the oval and thankfully gets it back on the track. But whoo, that was almost very bad. And somehow we haven't seen anyone come down off the oval into traffic yet today. It's been close a time or two though. But Ross Smith, our latest victim out of the oval in the Div 3s. And I have a feeling that Shelby Daytona, the back end of the car, just kind of said, I don't want to do this anymore. And Magnus Dahlgren in Div 3 is in the pits.
And he's already been there for 15 seconds. Let's have a look at the replay here. So it's coming out of the oval section. He goes high, he goes wide. Oh, he tags the Ferrari in front, and then bang, pinball wizardry. And hard hold onto the brakes. Maybe if he had a handbrake shifter alongside him, he'd be pulling that very, very hard right about now. But Ross Smith, well held.
And that was Angelides that he made contact with, I believe. So that, of course, Ross and Angelides, very good friends, and they work together here in Storm Gang to make these beautiful cars, these beautiful tracks. So I have a feeling George might go in timeout here later if he's not careful there, or George might be on the horn very quickly, yelling apologies very, very quickly.
Yeah, I would definitely agree on that one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Oh dear, I can feel I can sense the air turning blue. I would imagine.
That'll be an interesting one. On our screen here, Alex, this is the battle for the Div 3 lead as it stands. Now, of course, these drivers still need to pit again. This is JT Tammy, Lenikas Kirsten. And so we'll see what happens here. In Div 1-2, Busink has gotten past Herlock, even though Herlock had that huge gap. And, well, this is the second versus same of the first. Herlock behind Busink somehow. And they're just going to go bumper to bumper and follow each other for a while. Herlock, though, doesn't have the chance of saying, well, I could jump you in the pits again. Is now Herlock is going to have to do it on pure pace. All those times we saw him have that opportunity and not get that pass done, he's going to have to just throw the meatballs at it, get the pass done, and go here. We'll see what happens. Sellers in Div 3 is your de facto leader by 15, almost 20 seconds here as we stand, because Tammy and Kirsten here both have to pit. And Bradley Sellers, I think, is in a very good position if he doesn't have to pit again. Replay coming up here. What is this? This is...
Oh, this is Herlock and Busink, isn't it? Right, okay. What happens... Because Herlock has been a bit twitchy at points. Well, could there... Maybe... Well...
The slipstream isn't that powerful around here, so where's
No, it
that
isn't.
pace?
It isn't. Unless there's been a problem for Herlock. That's something we need to investigate if we manage to get the chance to interview him post-race, Brad. Like, what happened to Daniel Herlock? Because you don't lose that amount of time unless... Well, there's Nicholas Kirsten in the pits for the final time with just over 21.5 minutes plus change. So, yeah, I would be very interested to find out what happened there, because that to me doesn't really sit right for some particular reason.
Doesn't me either. The only thing I can think of is that he had some sort of an issue. I'm thinking he had an issue coming out of the oval onto that main straight. That's the only thing I can think of, is that the back end kicked out off of the oval. He got a little slow, and then, I mean, once you lose the speed, it is very hard to regain it around here, and it takes time. And I think that would explain what happened to him there. We'll send Paul Glover to investigate and see if there was an issue in the oval that caused Herlock to be so slow. But that's the only thing that makes sense in my head, especially considering he's right on the back of Busing now. There's nothing makes sense here for me personally for what would happen. I do want to point out there's a 30-second gap between Bradley Sellers and JT Tammy for the lead overall. Of course, JT Tammy in that Corvette Stingray. He's only pit once, 20 minutes to go. Surely Tammy has to pit again, right? There's no way Tammy is going to stay out to the end.
Tough to say, but we don't know what their strategies are. We don't know what concoction of a strat they planned and how well it's been executed. That's the key point here.
This is going to be a very close one for him up in the front. 32 seconds the gap between Tammy and Sellers as they go. Sellers comfortably in that second place here. Busink and Herlock again kind of looking around. Herlock kind of taking the peek through here, Alex, trying to find something somewhere. Not able to find that run through, and is just kind of looking around again. Just look how close they run down through here. And here is our replay. This is on board with Herlock through the final corner, and let's see if he had any issues here. You can see down in the bottom right the speed. You can see he's pegged on the red line here in the center, and I mean, yes, there's a little wiggle, but nothing that I would think would take away that much speed.
Well, you look at the speedometer. It was even at 220 kilometers an hour. It's 140 miles per hour itself. So whether it's tough to say. I mean, when he was behind Busink, he was probably at least 240 on the speedo, at least. I mean, I'd love to see an inside cockpit shot to see what his speed is recording now on that speedometer, because that'd be a big telling point, as we've got 18 minutes and 40 to go, and the battle for Div 1 to top honours is very much the case of, yeah, that it's difficult to say really. You know, the speed that I want to see is when we're through the oval. Now you're seeing it increase. 160, 170 is accelerating. So yeah, it's difficult to know how that works out. There you see, yeah, he's right on the back bumper. Again, 220 on the speedo. He's at 6,000 RPM. So yeah, there you go. You're seeing it now drop. Now it's going down quicker, getting closer and closer to 235, 240 kph. So it's.
Is it that much of a speed difference if you don't have someone in front of, like, if you don't have a drafting partner through the oval? Is there that much of a speed difference? I would understand a little bit, but that much of a speed difference is shocking to me.
It's about 10 miles an hour that he's losing if he's not with his dance partner at the moment on the tango floor. So effectively, the slipstream was going to be one of the crucial things to keep yourself in contention. But again, you're seeing another mistake. This is the problem, that Alfa Romeo behind that Porsche is the one that's having more instability. These cars are difficult to drive at the best of times, being a 1964 historic, but you still have that aerodynamic 101 principle, which is your car, if you're the one that is the one that is behind the car that's punching the hole in the dirty air, you are the one that's having to wrestle with that steering wheel, with your throttle a little bit more, because you're not going to be at full throttle. You're going to be at probably about 85, 90% at the most. So it all comes down to Herlock not making any stupid mistakes. I mean, like we saw just a moment ago.
Yeah, he's got to keep that car under him the rest of this race, because behind. There's nobody behind. There's no pressure behind. Really, Herlock's pressure is to get this pass done, and considering the gap is 20 seconds behind him, I mean, there's nothing behind him that's going to cause issues. He needs to just stay to the back of Boosink, and at this point, 15 minutes to go, his best bet is to stay behind him for the next 14 and get the pass done on the final opportunity. And that is contrary to, you know, popular racing belief. Usually it's get the pass done, get ahead, but in this situation where the slipstream is providing so much of a speed benefit, I would just stay behind. I would just ride it through, and at this point, you know, near the end is where you want to go for the pass, and we're not near enough to the end for the pass. It's the equivalent of, you know, any sort of NASCAR super speedway racing. When you watch the drivers run, they wait till the last 5 laps to really dive for a pass. But then again, when you have Boosink run wide like that, if you're Herlock, take advantage of it. Get to the outside. Push your car through. Get yourself to the inside through the first and second Lesmo here. And try to get this pass done. Hard on the brakes you go. And now Herlock has the lead. Has to hold Boosink behind. Boosink is going to look to get the inside here through the second Lesmo. And as we go, he gets it through.
Well done.
Boosink just, I mean, that's like taking candy from a baby.
Well, I mean, the thing is that yes, the power to weight ratio would be in the favour of the Alfa Romeo on home soil, but for flat out speed, the Porsche is just so much more planted. And you're now seeing this battle here with Tavernari et al. You know, this is a 3-way scrap. This could end very, very gnarly if they come out a little bit crossed up, coming out of the final corner at turn 9. And yeah, you can just see that Tavernari is possibly going to be a little bit of a sitting duck. There's Sellers. Oh, that's Boosink off! Boosink's off! That's at turn 1 at Curva Grande. So as Daniel Sellers went through towards the middle of that, I'm wondering if there may be some possible words there. I'm not 100% sure. But, and now, so Tammy is in the pit lane. And with just over 13.5 minutes, Bradley Sellers back in the race lead. I think his 2-stop strat, his 3000 IQ strat has worked to nigh on perfection. But the big question is, folks, he dived in first into the pit lane out of all the Div 3s. Could he maybe need a slash and dash? That could happen.
Well, he's got 30 seconds back to Magnus Dahlgren, so if he does end up needing a splash and dash, hopefully he has a buffer where it will just be very close and another Code Brown moment. We'll see what happens here. David Junt is running through here on our screen and is just kind of running around. We see some good pressure being added into the mix here. Luca Tavernari is on our screen there with Tony McGoffin just behind, and we just continue to watch these battles develop. We're hitting just over 12.5 minutes to go now, and we are just, I mean, this race has just exploded. That's the best way I have to phrase it. The race has exploded. The action is here. Div 3, the big question I have is fuel strategy at this point and seeing what happens and how that ends up. I mean, this is going to be close. We might see JT Tammy get passed by Kirsten for 3rd place overall in Div 3. The big question I have right now, Bradley Sellers, the gap is only 22 seconds. Bradley Sellers is big time fuel saving right now, I feel. Does he have enough fuel to get to the end? And if he doesn't, does he have enough space to Dahlgren to splash and dash and try to hold on to that lead? Gap now down to 21 seconds. Alex, it's so close with just under that 12-minute mark now. I don't know how that... I won't have an answer until the end of this race for Bradley Sellers, honestly.
I think Bradley Sellers has to do the following. Fuel save, but also use traffic in front as his slipstream buffer. That might help him a little bit here. He's just on a mid 1 minute 2.2. Boosink in, no, that was not Boosink in the wall. My apologies there. That was McCoven was in the wall. I nearly got off right there because they're running exactly the same liveries, both battles, which is We need differentiating colours. Maybe like some different wing mirror colour shades or something. I knew it. Sellers is in the pits. Sellers is in the pits. He's had no other alternative. It's a 3-stopper for Bradley Sellers. That is going to give that's given Dahlgren the lead. So yeah, with 10.5 minutes to go, I thought it might have been too good to be true for Bradley Sellers, but you know what? He's done exactly what he's needed to do. He's going to brim the tank, so he's got a bit of a buffer, but then he's got to go on an absolute tear. He's fueling that car up, ready to do one thing and one thing only. Chase everyone down.
He is got a monster gap to make up here. I'm not saying it's impossible.
No, but he's got a monster ride that can put in quick lap times. The minute he's up to speed, cry havoc and let loose Bradley Sellers. Ross Smith has just dived into pit lane. So the Shelby Daytonas were the tour de forces. We could be on for a Ferrari win on home soil in both Div 3, Div 3 AM. Also, Div 1 and 2 Pro, and well, Andy Schremser in the Div 1-2 AM class in the Porsche 904 has got 5 cars between himself and Fernando Ferreira. So Schremser's just got to bring the car home. So yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on Bradley Sellers. I mean, Sector 2 he just came out of 1 minute 34. So now he's got to rip into 26.5 seconds. That is the gap between him and Magnus Dahlgren in the number 89 250 GTO. Folks, hold on to your hats, because I can bet your bottom dollar with Bradley Sellers behind the wheel of that number 93 rookie monster Shelby Daytona, he is going to be absolutely chomping at the bit to close that gap down.
That he is, and he's got to gain a few seconds a lap going through to the end of this race. He's got to gain a significant amount of pace. Oh, this is the closest we've seen this oval section all the way through. This is right behind Luca Tavernari. This is yeah, this is rough, but we see everyone get through on the inside there.
That Schultz.
The Div 1-2 Schultz just, okay. Everyone's through, everyone's together. You can open your eyes. It's good. Luca Tavernari still leading this pack here with the 339 behind of Tony McCoffin, and then Gilles Lalonde just behind here. 8 minutes to go, Alex. It's anyone's game at this point.
Yeah, it really is. It's just going to be a case of, you know, in this last few moments, I mean, that's probably going to... So, Jerry Chen has just been passed by Peter Meyer, I believe. So that... John Mayers has brought up the yellow in Sector 2. Here's the 66. There's Jerry Chen, and that is Peter Meyer. That is the battle for second in Division 3 AM. Chen looks to be a lot more planted in the Ferrari 250 GTO. He locks up the right front, going into the first Lesmo. Oh, to Meyer at that particular point of the circuit. Still sideways was Chen, and he saved it. Heavens to Betsy, Jerry Chen flung it up the inside with reckless abandon, and still, they do say rubbing's racing, but motorsport is meant to be non-contact, let's not forget. So we're going to have a replay here. And this is John Mayer at the 88. He's gone straight on, sideways, and he didn't expect that one in the program.
Yeah, he's very lucky that we're in the virtual world, because I think in real life that fence would have just kind of went away on its own, and then Mayer ends up upside down. It looks like John Mayer has gotten his car back going in some capacity somehow. I'm not going to ask questions about how, and I know he's there. McCoffin has now been off as well. And he had it together with Scar Pope, as we saw John Mayer still sitting upside down in the background. This race has just exploded with 6.5 minutes to go. This is this replay coming through. You see? Oh! I mean, that was...
That was not on. I'll be completely honest with you. The 339 of McCuffin had no business doing that to the pack of poor old Luca Tavernari. He's been between a rock and a hard place all night, and yeah, McCuffin just literally just went, yep, there you go, bang. I mean,
now, oh my gosh! I mean, that was a hard hit too. He's on top of John Mayer. John Mayer has officially DNF, but watch as he spins here. He goes, I mean,
that was...
You couldn't write a better storybook.
It was like Knight Rider right then.
What in the world? This race has exploded.
We've still got 5 minutes, folks. Anything can happen. It reminds me of a karting race, this does, where unpredictability... And especially when you bring in historic racing, 1964, Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, David Yunt and Reece Gardner still battling away, and they are. And the thing is that Gardner is now what, 14.1 seconds behind. Herlock's now got the first bit of daylight that I think any of the 2 leaders in Division 1-2 have had. As there you see another problem for the right front of Tony McCoffin in the Porsche, but Gardner and Yunt battling over the final place in the rostrum in Division 1-2. They've been inseparable, but now the gap between Herlock and Bussink is now 2.6 seconds and climbing. Keeping an eye on, I'm doing Sellers watch at the moment. Gap between first and fourth. Paul Glover, stop saying sweet nothings like that into my ear. You get a slap in a minute. Right, there's still time. There's still time. Gap now under 20 seconds. So, Bradley Sellers. Okay, Magnus Dahlgren's just on a 48.7 in Sector 3. JT Tammy, 45.0. Nicholas Kirsten, 45.1. Bradley Sellers, hold the phone, 44.5. Sellers is closing that gap down to Nicholas Kirsten. I think it might be too tall in order to climb, but Sellers does have an outside shot at a podium with the rate of closing he's got at the moment.
That he does, and I mean, over 6 seconds faster last lap, so we'll see what happens with that, and we'll keep our eyes on it as it goes. Not impossible here. JT Tammy, Nicholas Kirsten battling it out for second place here.
Look up from Tammy. Oh, that Corvette is not going to be very, very happy at the moment, because look at Nicholas Kirsten. He's diving left, he's diving right. They've got Division 1-2 traffic in front of them. They're now going on to the fastest point of the circuit. Here we go. This could be very, very tetchy. They've got back marker traffic to get through on. They've got to expedite it quickly, which they do. Now Kirsten is going to have the legs on the Chevrolet, because being in that slipstream, that's going to give that Ferrari that extra few. And I've just heard, Tony McCoffin's just being DQ'd from the server. Luca Tavernari, possibly for a speeding into pit lane infraction. We've also had DNF from Luca Tavernari, according to live timing.
Unfortunate to see that. We'll get some more details about the Tony McCoffin DNF. It's unfortunate to see with 3 minutes to go here. Driver's DNF here, Alex. Looks like we're going to get a replay up.
I think we could be on our final lap here, Brad, because when Tammy and Kirsten crossed the line, it was just shy of 2 minutes. Yeah, McCoffin went behind the wall, so. But still, Dahlgren leading by nine seconds. Now he was the one that was at the sharp end of the field when we got racing nearly an hour and a half ago. And there you go. That's the battle for second and third. And Kirsten, very, very wide, clips the barriers on the exit of turn 3 of Cover de Lesmo or not, and then Tudor manages to keep it nice and straight. But Dahlgren is really closing in onto the... So, yeah, Tavanari, as we've just mentioned, has DNF'd from the race, but Magnus Dahlgren on lap number 35 is about to go through into the speedway section. We are 50 seconds away from timer going to 0. Dahlgren's still a little bit sketchy. That Ferrari has been a handful, but Dahlgren has made his strategy count the best way it could possible. And then you see picture in picture the battle between second and third. And Busink in the meantime is catching Herlock. He's got that gap down from what was 3 seconds to now half a second, as Dahlgren heads into the oval part of the circuit as we hit 20 seconds on the timer. I haven't seen a call for the last lap, but I would imagine this will be it here, Brad, on lap 35.
I would think it would here, as the timer's now 10 seconds to go and continuing to go down. Herlock really needs to just buckle this in. He spent so long in this race following along with Busink. Now Busink is the one chasing. Herlock needs to just keep his car together and on the track, and we see that is a taller ask than can be said here. Side by side they go, and that Porsche just seems to have a bit more horsepower down the straight here. Seems to have just a little something extra to give, and it is going to put Herlock behind now as they go. Here we go. Dahlgren is going down and around, and that is all she wrote here for Herlock into second place behind Busink. Magnus Dahlgren has officially finished our race and is going to be your winner here of the 90 minutes of Monza here with the historic VWSC. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a wild race. Bradley Sellers not able to close that gap, down in 4th place. So you are seeing drivers start to finish this race here on the outside line. And unfortunately for Dan Herlock, it'll be a case of just too little too late. If the race had finished about half a lap earlier, I think Herlock would have won it.
Yeah, definitely 100% there, Brad. But he's still got an opportunity. He can still keep in that window, try and make it a drag race out of the final corner. You can see now that Busink is weaving. That's not going to be very much in. It's not going to be. Oh dearie, what on earth?
Ross Smith.
That was the double zero of Ross Smith going through. But could this give the opportunity? Herlock dives to the inside of the oval for the final time. He's nosing ahead. It's literally neck and neck coming out of the final corner. Turn 9. Who's gonna get it? Who's gonna get it? Is it gonna be Herlock? No, it's gonna be Busink. Busink by next to nothing. 1/10 of a second. They cross the line, and Busink wins one of the most closest finishes I think this season has ever seen. It was a 10th across the line. Herlock died to the inside line. Gardner's going to take 3rd. Yunt in 4th, but Busink has to think, I'm so glad I picked the Porsche, because Herlock could have had him in a headlock if he'd gotten the run coming out of that final corner on the oval section.
That was... for a second there, through that final corner, I thought I was going to eat my words. I thought I was going to be eating my words for Herlock, and I would have ate them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and been okay with it, because that was a stellar, stellar attempt there for Herlock to try to get that pass done on Busink, but just, again, just not enough power out of that Alfa Romeo, out of the exit of the corner here. And we follow Andy Schremser. We haven't talked a lot about the Div 1-2 AMs, but in the end, for Andy Schremser, it is that pink 272 Porsche 904 that is going to bring it across the line and win Div 1-2 AM by a absolutely shocking 260 seconds. Just sends it across, and a nice, gorgeous win there, and has the number 72 Lotus following through. That is Becky Ely that is going to be following just behind. Wow. I
don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about that race, Brad. Holy moly, that was a classic.
Monza produces stellar racing. That is what I have for it, is Monza produces stellar racing. And the historic the historic layout produces stellar results, I will say. That is, I mean, amazing. I don't know how else to say that. Just amazing here from the run. Wow. Yeah, Alex, just wow.
Nothing else nothing else needs to be said. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I think for the last, well, we've been on air for what, close to 2 hours? It has flown by. You want a race like this on the championship, and for it to represent 1964 with the period cars, I can't say anymore, because if I do, I'll probably lose my mind at this point.
All right. So Stacy Scott has said, awesome race. I loved every second of it. And Scar Pope said, if you can give me whatever makes it good on a regular Monza track. So, yeah, historic Monza, absolute stellar race here. I don't know how else to say that other than just that's a stellar race. And yeah, I'm sure the drivers are going to have plenty to say about it. Magnus Dahlgren, especially, because for a second I thought Magnus Dahlgren was going to be out to dry there with Bradley Sellers, but Bradley Sellers having to do that final splash and dash just too little too late, not able to run up for the lead.
Yeah, I mean, it was just looking so promising for him as well. I thought maybe the Shelby Daytona could be the dark horse, and then all of a sudden it's like Magnus Dahlgren comes out from left field and wins for and it's the Cavallino Rampante on its home turf, no less.
Oh, that was something else and absolutely wonderful. George Angelides pulling out P7 overall, winning against Jerry Chen. That is going to have some big championship implications there for them. It's going to make Div 3 AM very, very spicy, I would say, as we go through. But we do have our winners coming in, so let's go ahead and pull in one of our winners and talk to them. And it is going to be the overall winner of the day. Let's find Magnus Dahlgren and get a word with Magnus Dahlgren here. Magnus Dahlgren, good evening. A win that I didn't know if it was going to happen for a little bit, not to any doubt of pace or ability, but just from fuel calculations. Magnus, how does it feel to win historic Monza? Oh. Magnus, are you there?
Sorry, I had my mic on mute. Sorry.
There we go. Yeah, no problem. It happens. I know the racing could get competitive, and the mute's probably a little bit of a safety feature that I personally run with my mic on mute too. So, but how's it feel to win historic Monza?
It feels amazing. It was really unexpected because I didn't think that Bradley Sellers would make another stop. So I was, thinking I was gonna end up in P2, but
I want to talk about the start of the race for a second here. Kind of talk me through the first few laps when there was that pack of 5 or 6 of you up front that were just bumper to bumper, hard competitive racing. How white knuckled were you through that, and what were your thoughts going in through the beginning?
I thought I just had to give it my all. I didn't know where I would finish the race really at the start, so I just thought, go for it, max out.
So in Magnus, you said you didn't think you were going to win there with Bradley Sellers.
Yeah.
How much relief came over you whenever you saw Bradley Sellers dive into the pit lane there?
Sure, that was a huge relief, and have to adjust really on the fly as you're flying by. So I don't know really. I haven't really. You just keep going, so you just don't think too much. You just make it to the finish.
Yeah, and Magnus, of course, you are our overall winner here today. Anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go celebrate your win here in Monza?
Thank you to you guys and Championship Motorsports and everybody who's watching and everybody who's I've been competing tonight with, especially JT, Tammy, and Bradley Sellers and Nicholas Kirsten. I had great fun with those guys, so thank you all.
Awesome. And a big shout out to you. Congratulations on the win, Magnus, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. And from there, we're going to grab our Div 3 AM winner, one Mr. George Angelidis. George, how did the high banking, the high speed, the temple of speed treat you here today?
It was not pretty today. It's not pretty at all for me, but it did get the job done for the championship. I'm pretty sure I may have some penalties coming my way in the next round. Yeah, but we'll take them and we'll move from there.
And George, this does, of course, have some championship implications with you getting the win over John Mayer. We have a few rounds left in the season. What's your thoughts on the championship going through to the end?
You mean Jerry Chen?
Jerry Chen, yeah.
I don't know. There is some late resurgence coming from me right now, and Jerry has been struggling on the last few rounds. I'm just gonna keep going till mathematically it's impossible, right? That's the only thing I can do. Team's championship is still on because I saw that John came back alive. He DNF'd and then he came back in to complete the round, so he took some points on the Chimp Championship. So we're trying to fight with that with Jason as well, and he couldn't make it today. So I don't know. It's tough. 3 races to go. We have one hill climb. With traditionally, we have swept those hill climbs as a team. I don't know. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna go to the last round, I'm pretty sure.
It is going to be very close, but looking ahead here, just a couple weeks out to Bridgehampton, what's going to be your big goal for the 250 kilometers at Bridgehampton? What are you thinking looking ahead?
Mathematically, increasing the point difference to Jerry. The biggest would be to win the race, to get max points. And if we can gather some team car points as well there with Jason to try to give a little bit of a breather into the team championship, that will be good too. But that's what I'm trying for.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun to watch here through the last few rounds of the season, but anyone you want to shout out, George, the floor is yours.
No, thanks everybody for coming out, and you guys on the broadcast. We had some good racing with Jerry. A couple of apologies are due. We'll be finding the appropriate people for some very aggressive moves that were unnecessary. But yeah, going into Bridgehampton and then game on, championship on.
Absolutely. It'll be fun to watch, George. Congratulations on your win in class today, and we'll see you at Bridgehampton here in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
All right, and from there, let's grab Elko Busink. Elko Busink, you got a lot of screen time, whether you know it or not. It was absolutely fun to watch you run through and push that Porsche to its limits. How are you feeling?
I am exhausted. That was mental. Yeah, Dan and I just drove away from basically lap 2, I think, and it was great with the slipstream where we can just push each other along and create a gap to P3. But then, like 5 laps before the end, I got pushed wide in Parabolica by Bradley, and I had to close the gap back to Dan, and that was very close. It was, I'm sweating.
I don't blame you a bit. I'd be sweating myself. Kind of talk to me about when you were going there. There was one point where you had absolutely ridiculous pace on Dan Herlock, and you caught up to him going down the main straight out of the oval. Did the Porsche have that much more pace just on its own, or was the draft really that powerful?
The draft was mental, but I think one of the Div 3 cars just pulled up in front of me, and I gained 4 or 5 kph down the straight, just from like half a second of pull by Div 3, and that gained me half a second at least at the straight, maybe even more. So yeah, the slipstream is really mighty on Monza, especially with 2 cars really close to each other.
It was absolutely crazy to watch through. And I got to ask, the Porsche seemed to be very dominant in Div 1-2. Are you happy with the Porsche through the season going into the final few rounds?
Well, there's a few tracks and a few specific corner types that Porsche just doesn't do. The straight line speed is the main thing that it can do. But if you want to carry speed through certain types of corners, and especially the exits are really bad. For example, Parabolica, that's where Dan was way stronger than I was. But for the rest of the season, I next track is a twisty one, right? So I guess that that the skateboard will be doing well there. Yeah, the Porsche will not do well in twisty turns and short amounts of top speed racing. So the long straights, that's the Porsche territory, and the rest is not too great.
I think it'll be okay though to watch. It'll be a fun one to watch for sure. Elko, anyone you want to thank? Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go celebrate your win? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I want to thank Dan for keeping it clean and making it such an interesting race for the two of us, as well as just being a bit too aggressive in the last turn and giving me the win.
Congratulations on your win. It was a good run to watch. We'll let you go celebrate that, and we'll see you here in a few weeks in Bridgehampton.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
You as well. All right. Well, and I don't see our Div 1-2 AM winner floating around anywhere, but I will just give a big shout out to Andy Schrimser for winning in the Porsche 904 in Div 1-2 AM. Don't see him around for an interview, so we will call things out here at the end. Alex, any final thoughts?
What a race. What an evening. Door to door, wheel to wheel. That's how it should be. And Monza provided the perfect spectacle tonight. And it was a great pleasure to be alongside you in the booth once again, Mr. Dalton. And big shout out to Mr. Glover behind the scenes, trying to keep up with everything. I think we were all trying to do that. And it was a difficult one tonight, but hella fun.
That it was. Plenty of things to keep our eyes on from top to bottom. I enjoyed that quite a bit. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the bells, do all the fun things to support CMS Racing and the JP Broadcasting Network. But on behalf of Alex Goldschmidt and Mr. Paul Glover behind the scenes, giving me the voices in my head, my name is Bradley Dalton. We've taken you start to finish here from historic Monza. Be sure to join us next time on the network here, where we'll take you start to finish yet again. Good night.